Hey everyone. In this video, I want to discuss how you can never fully protect yourself when dating. Many of us know this, right? Like on a subconscious level, that there really isn't any foolproof method you can use to avoid getting hurt when dating. Usually, you're putting yourself out there. You're having the courage to do that because you know there's a possibility, there's a risk of getting hurt. And there isn't any way to fully mitigate that risk besides just not putting yourself out there at all, which unfortunately a lot of people do nowadays. But I don't agree with that method. Like, I'm about to share with you my most recent dating experience, which happened to be one of the most beautiful ones in my life. And with that, it didn't end the way I was hoping. And because of that, it ended up with pain. But hopefully in sharing this experience, you'll be able to see why I think the way I do when it comes to dating, and why even after having great experiences that don't turn out the way you want, that I'm still willing to put myself out there, even though I know there's no way to mitigate any possibility of me getting hurt. But here's the thing, the more I've worked on myself, it's become easier and easier to deal with things not working out each time. And it's just unfortunate that up until this point, nothing has worked out. Like, I'm very picky when it comes to dating. So when I do finally consider pursuing a woman, it's usually because I think there's a possibility for a long-term relationship with her. Otherwise, I'm not even going to spend my time on her because that's just the way I am now. I don't want to fool around short-term because that doesn't interest me at all. I want to find a life partner. But it's so freaking hard to find a woman who meets my criteria for that. And then when I do find some that I believe initially meet my criteria, I either learn that they don't, or things don't work out with them, and that kind of sucks. Usually it's because, they haven't healed enough and they're making unconscious, or not, how should I phrase it? They're acting out patterns of unconscious behavior, or they're codependent with their ex, and So anyway, let me dive into my most recent dating experience so I can make you guys question my sanity. But hopefully my goal here is to help you realize that it isn't such a bad thing to continuously put yourself out there, even if you get hurt time and time again. That will be my goal here. I only hope that I can actually explain things in a way that will make you understand why I do this. But anyway, so most recently, back in March, I started seeing a woman I've actually had a history with. I've known her for about a decade, but it's been off and on. I haven't kept in touch with her that entire time. But she and I have known each other for a very long time. But the whole time I've known her, she's been in relationships with other men. So even though there was a bit of a connection there, we've always kind of, maybe not always, but since 2015 and beyond, we've always kind of understood that we had a certain level of maturity, and that, there was probably the possibility for something there. But she was never single, so I never made a move on her because I couldn't. Well, recently, on New Year's Day of this year, she got out of a 4-year relationship with her ex. And in March, we ended up reconnecting. And I figured, hey, this is cool. This is the first time I've known her where she is actually single. So I immediately pounced on it. That's the kind of guy I am, right? And things were going incredibly well. And it was just a very beautiful experience. We unfortunately didn't actually get to see each other all that much because she lives about 2 hours away, so that did kind of make things difficult. But we were able to see each other the first time for a weekend because she happened to be in my area for that weekend. She was rabbit sitting for a friend, which was really funny. I've never heard of someone doing rabbit sitting, but it ended up happening there. It was pretty cool. But so I saw her that weekend, both days, and since she had just gotten out of that relationship with her ex, she was in the healing process, and I knew that would be the case. I knew going into it that there was a high possibility this wouldn't last long because she was healing, because all of my prior experiences with women who were in the healing process, none of them worked out. So I knew that. I knew going into it, I'm like, this probably won't last forever, but there's a possibility to create something beautiful here, and I'm not going to pass that up. That's the kind of guy I am. I'll chase beauty no matter how short-lived it is. Even if it means driving 5 hours to see an incredible area with a bunch of wildflowers or whatever, I'll do that, even if I only get to see the wildflowers for 10 minutes and they have to immediately get out of there. That seems worth it to me. Same thing with putting myself out there with a woman that I have a connection with, and even if it lasts 2 days, I never had that, thankfully, but even if it were to last, yeah, one weekend, I would view that as worth it because I would have another beautiful experience in my memory bank. It would suck. Like, it always sucks when it ends. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm immune to the hurt that comes when, it doesn't go as long as you were hoping. But it's still worth it to me. So anyway, I'm getting sidetracked here. But yeah, so we saw each other for that weekend, and it was a really enjoyable experience. We were taking things slow. I was being patient with her, holding space for her. I was restraining myself but telling her everything on my mind because I knew she was healing. So like I wanted to make moves on her, but I didn't want to breach her trust and make her feel unsafe by just throwing myself at her even though she's healing. So I was more so telling her everything I wanted to do with her, but not doing it until she felt ready. And that was working really well, and it made her feel safe. And then I ended up going on a vacation to see my family, so that took us away from each other for a while, but we were calling each other every week and talking for like 3 to 4 hours sometimes. Like, I haven't done that since like middle school. I haven't talked to a woman on the phone for that long and enjoyed it. And an interesting thing was every time we talked with each other on the phone, I grew to like her even more. That is very uncharacteristic of me because usually it's not something I do on purpose, but I tend to be like out of sight, out of mind. And if I'm not seeing a woman enough, I usually lose interest with her. I mean, and that's quite often because they're just not on the level of their self-growth journey that I would like them to be. So I know it's not going to last with them. I know it's a short-term experience. I know it has an end date. So it makes me lose interest because I'm like, why do I care? I know this will end. But with this woman, it was different. I knew there was a possibility it could turn into something long-term. It just unfortunately didn't. So yeah, we were talking on the phone 3 to 4 hours at a time, and it was amazing. And then once I got back from that trip, I ended up seeing her this past weekend, so this past Saturday, and it was an incredible experience. We spent almost 12 hours together, like no joke. I've never had a date that was basically like the whole day, but we literally spent the whole day together, and it was just beautiful. We went for a hike in the morning. We were just getting to know each other really well, and then we went and chilled and had snacks next to this river in this beautiful area, and then we went and got coffee, and then we went to a park, and she had brought like a blanket and pillows, so we were cuddling under the shade of a tree, and it was just amazing. And then we finished the date like oh wait, no, that wasn't even the end, but we went and got dinner, got some hamburgers, and we went to another place, and we're just basically chilling in her car until we parted ways eventually. And it was an amazing experience. Like the way we were able to connect with each other, open up to each other. I was being honest with her. She was being as honest with me as possible, but still not completely. And I get that because it's very difficult to fully open up to someone when you're not already in a relationship with them. But the only reason I bring that up is because there were a few things she wasn't telling me that if she had told me would have kind of let me know what I was in store for. But even then, I still kind of could tell certain things were going on. I could see the warning signs because I've just had enough experience to know these things. After a while, you start to be able to predict what will happen. And more than anything, you're not really surprised when it happens. You're just more disappointed that you ended up being right and that this possibility is now playing out. And it's unfortunate because quite often there isn't anything you can do to try to avoid those things. But to basically explain what ended up happening, the day after our incredible date, she actually, I need to give this a little backstory, she still was living with her ex because she moved in with him back in like 2022 at some point, or I don't know. But basically she was living with her ex. So I was seeing her, she had broken up with him or whatever, but they were still living together. I knew that was kind of not great going into it. I just was kind of maybe hoping that it wouldn't be an issue, but turns out it ended up being one because the more she was seeing me, she was being honest and telling her ex about how things went. And, well, he ended up, from the sound of it, getting jealous and starting to feel sad and hurt. And because she was seeing his ex being happy with another man. Basically, he at some point started guilt tripping her, making her feel bad about seeing me. And it's unfortunate that she I can't even say that. Basically, she still had feelings for him. He still had feelings for her. He ended up confessing that he was still in love with her. And rather quickly, she ended up deciding and agreeing to give it another try with him. So that's what happened on Sunday. Then yesterday, on Monday, she and I had a phone conversation where she basically explained all these things to me, and now it's over. That's where we're at. So I'm sure many of you are thinking, like, Josh, what the hell? Wouldn't you like give up on dating after something like that, where you created immense beauty with her? And, you know, I wasn't fully committing to a future with her because I know better by now. Like, I was controlling myself and not allowing myself to fall into those fantasies and think about like marriage or other crap. I wasn't even thinking about getting into a relationship with her. Like, that's how much I was controlling myself and trying to stay unattached and outcome. And I'm really glad I did it, because if I hadn't done that, I don't think I'd be able to make this video the way I currently am, because it would still be too painful. So that does certainly help with getting over someone far quicker. And that's something I've just learned from experience. But it still sucked. Like, I'll be honest, I was very disappointed. It made me realize that I was wrong about where she was at in her personal growth journey. I thought she was further along in it, but she wasn't. I actually realized she's still a bit codependent with this guy, her ex. That's the unfortunate conclusion. Now, knowing that, I still am going to put myself out there. I'm still going to try to find a great woman who will actually choose me over time and not run back to her ex. You know, I often like to think you could be the best person on the planet for someone, but if they can't see that, if they can't recognize your worth, that means nothing. It means nothing. Like, it's not on you at that point. I used to beat myself up when things like this would happen. I used to think, oh, if I was just this much better than I am, she would have chosen me over him. No, that's not true. I could be the best. I could be like her soulmate. And that wouldn't be enough, because she wasn't fully healed. She was still in love with the guy. She still was acting out unconscious patterns of behavior. She was still codependent with him. Like, it doesn't matter how great of an option I was for her. She was going to go back to him no matter what. That was going to be the outcome, because she just hadn't worked on herself enough yet. And I know that. So I didn't take it personally. But the way I view dating is that it is worthwhile to create those beautiful experiences, even if they're short-lived. Because, you know, I don't hold any resentment towards her over her decision. Yeah, I'm disappointed she chose that way, because it made me view her a bit differently than before. Like, it made her kind of fall a bit in my eyes, because I just wasn't expecting it, and I know it's the wrong move for her, but what can you do? But I don't regret any of the time I spent with her. It was beautiful. I fully enjoyed it. I only wish it would have lasted longer, right? But now, that just makes me want to find a woman where it will last a lot longer, it will go the distance, because I know the beauty I'm capable of creating, and I just want it to last the next time. But I'm not going to give up. So hopefully this is giving you some insight into the way I think, because I imagine many of you, if you had gone through the same experience, you would probably be a bit devastated and want to give up on dating. And I can fully understand that, because when it initially happened, there was a ton of emotions rolling through my body, and I just let it all play out. And I was like, okay, now that that's out of the way, what can I do from here on out? What can I focus on next? What does the future hold for me? And I realized that I'm probably going to try to get the hell out of LA ASAP, because I just haven't been able to find a lot of women who work on themselves here. And it makes dating a far less enjoyable experience. But I'm going to continue putting myself out there and trying to create that beauty again. Because the more you work on yourself, you're able to be a catalyst for helping someone else become even more vibrant and beautiful in your presence. And a lot of people haven't hit that point, but it's such an incredible thing when you finally can. It's something worth working towards. And a lot of men don't understand how they can do this. Like, you could theoretically go for a woman who wasn't fully evolved yet and help her become more evolved. It's just, I don't want to do that. I'd rather find one who's already evolved and then just start running with her. But at this point, I'm rambling. I truly hope you've got something out of this video, that you've been able to understand like why it's worthwhile to put yourself out there. Maybe my arguments haven't been at all convincing, but oh well. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm really curious to see what you guys have to say, but this video is way too long now, so I'm going to end it here. Truly hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Arrivederci!